Hello everyone, I'm Jaideep Singh Chahal. So finally today we got a free Sunday. So this is what a Sunday looks like at A1 Auto Care. So we're only working on our own vehicles. The LX470 is being sprayed on. It's getting the final coat of pearl white, and we've got Navnoor's Thar automatic 4x4 hardtop with us, and we had the we had the entire Ironman set for this one sitting with us from the last month and a half, but we didn't have the time to install it. So today, finally Sunday on the new lift, we decided to go ahead and do it. So what I wanted to do was I just wanted to show you a little of what all goes on in the. This is more of a suspension upgrade rather than a lift kit. Uh, this is going to work like a level kit. The front in the Thar is generally drooping, and if you do a, a measurement from the bottom of your rim, the front sits lower by almost quarter to 2 inches. So to get the flat leveled out stance, what we've done is the lift kit or the suspension upgrade that Ironman is supplying, what it does is it will replace a few components and bring your front level. So how that happens, I'll quickly show you. So what we have, this is probably the strangest looking coilover damper set I've ever seen in an Indian 4x4 SUV at least. So it works something like this. So this is the shocker part or the damper. This is the damper. This is the spring seat. The coil goes on it and bolts into the top. So this is attached to a forged J. It's an extension. It's an arm. Basically, your shaft comes right here. The front drive shaft, not the drive shaft. The front axle comes right here. So this kind of goes around and attaches to your lower AM. It might sound very complicated. Once we hold it next to the suspension, it will all make sense. I'll show it to you once it is installed. So this set is a very different looking unit from what we've experienced earlier. So what Ironman has done is they've come up with this and a machined leg or an arm. So this goes here, and when this goes here, it's a bigger unit altogether, and this is going to lift the front by almost an inch and a half, quarter to 2 inches. The exact lift we'll get once we measure it. And I would like to bring to your notice the difference in size. Not that shaft thickness or the weight of the shocker, like I always say, is a way to measure how good the suspension is going to be. But this is the tried and tested nitro gas, so the drive, of course, is going to be very good. And you can see a difference in the in the thickness of your shaft, and of course the size of your bottom chamber as well. So that after being installed, I believe it is going to. I've driven a nitro gas equipped Thar in Bangalore. That is when it was in the initial testing stages. I'm talking about October last year, and it really fixes the very common problem which Thar has. It really bounces a lot, so the rebound or the damping is kind of not even there. Especially in the rear, it really loves to dance around on the road. You hit one rough patch or you hit a rumble strip, and it will bounce out of its way. It'll actually, speaking from my experience with the Thar that I had, I was driving to Manali, and this is late night near the Ott Tunnel section where the road used to be really broken. This is around a year and a half back, summers last year. And in that section, where I always used to take my Isuzu normally, you kind of start remembering the curves and the kind of pace you can hold. So I went through a rough patch uh, at a similar pace or a slightly lower pace than what I would on my Isuzu, and I went into a rough patch and it bounced all the way into the oncoming traffic. I'm lucky it was quarter to 2 in the night and there was no oncoming traffic, but I shifted an entire lane. People who are owning and using the Thar, and especially with upgraded tires, the ride becomes even more bouncy. So that was one instance where I decided that the suspension really needs to be attended to, but we didn't have any upgrade options back then. So this I am very sure is going to address that bounciness, and should take care of the the weird handling characteristics that the Thar has. Nothing against the Thar, I love it for the hardware. The front suspension, of course, is a little, it's an eyesore for me, but I think this is the best possible attempt there can be to fix it. And what happens in this set is we don't change the coils or the springs. It is going to work with the stock springs. So all that we get in the lift kit or the level kit is a pair of front shockers and a pair of rear shockers, and the shocker seat, if you can say. So what where the actual difference comes in is, if you can see the diameter. So the diameter of the base, there's a lot of difference. It's almost 1.5 times. So that gives you a bigger piston. So a thicker shaft and bigger piston means it is a tougher suspension, and of course the damping effect can be more solid. Your spring cannot overpower your shocker. That is the whole idea. A spring's tendency, if it falls, it is going to bounce around till it runs out of energy and it settles down. The purpose of a shocker is to consolidate that bouncing as quickly as possible. So that's the whole idea of a suspension. And this, of course, we get the rear shocker, which is a direct bolt on. The springs stay as they are. I'll quickly show you how the rear suspension looks like. So even in this Thar, if you can see, these are the Roger Tech rubber bushes that go in your spring. They're supposed to make the ride a little better. So that did make it tolerable with the upgraded BFGs, but nothing close to what we wanted. And this is the shocker that is going to replace your stock shock in the back, and the top mounting is common. It is exactly how it comes in the stock one. So this will be a direct bolt on. The whole effort goes in the front. And uh, what we'll do next is, once it is installed, I'll try to explain to you the geometry, how it sits, how it settles, and of course the final stance as well. So we'll cover that also. So I think that's about it. We'll record the rest once one side of this new one goes in, so that you can see how the shaft or the axle is going, and how it sits, and how it actually bolts on with the stock spring. How an aftermarket shocker can also take the stock spring, the stock seat, and it'll raise the front by 1.5 or quarter to 2 inches. Whatever it is, I'll share it with you. Thank you. So coming to the rear suspension, the front is on. I'll quickly show you the front now. What I wanted to bring to your notice was the length of the rear two shocks. So both of them sit at the same length, fully extended. But the main issue that we have in the Thar is the bounciness at high speeds or in a rough patch when you try to go fast. So the Thar at low speeds, it is very comfortable, no complaints with that. But the minute you try to go fast, or let's say you're traveling and you try to keep up with the other vehicles in a rough patch, it bounces all around, especially the rear. So this is the culprit right here. I'll show you what happens. Uh, we'll compress both the shocks together. Okay. Okay. So once compressed, the Ironman one opens up, and this actually doesn't move. So not moving is, there's nothing wrong if it doesn't move. It's just a characteristic. Doesn't mean that this is broken. But the problem is, this is behaving like a hydraulic shock, not a gas charged shock. This is what a gas charged shock does. It is able to extend and compress easily, and it can cope up with the difference in the spring bounce, and it can mitigate that very easily. So what this is doing is, it is actually still, until unless you start pulling it out, and then again the movement is pretty uh, I can say inconsistent. But then what happens is, in a hydraulic shock, at a lower speed, the damping feels more plush. There is no doubt about that. But what happens is, when you go at a higher speed, this shock is unable to keep up with the difference in the spring bounce, or the variation in spring length, or the compression due to the change in road surface. And then this starts behaving like a stick. That is why your rear end feels that firm and it starts bouncing around as if you have no dampers in the back. So this one opening up on its own and this one not opening up, I will repeat, it does not mean this one is broken, but it is not what you require. This is not the right spec. That is why something, a proper nitro gas or a proper gas charged shock will be able to cope up with the change in the surface, not this one. So this is what is going to solve the issue of the rear bounciness or whatever weird we feel in the back in a Thar while driving over a rough patch. So I'll just bring it to the camera. Even though this says gas charged or gas filled, it does not behave like a gas filled shock. So this is not fully extended. It is still stuck somewhere. If you keep pushing it, now it is fully extended, I think. Yeah, this is the fully extended length. But till a certain range, it runs in very quick, comes out very quick. It's like there's barely any life left in this. And this vehicle is not old. It's done like 8,000 kilometers and that's it. So they're practically done with what I feel. And this one, the movement in, it takes a lot of effort and the movement out is smooth. So uh, this is going to help a lot, and I think the post install drive impressions, the one that we do, that will cover a lot of it. So that's about it. We'll cover the front suspension very quickly now. Thank you. So now that we're in the front, I would want to bring your attention to how the front suspension geometry looks. If you can bring the camera a little a little close to the upper control arm. So this is your stock upper control arm, and this is your lower control arm. This is standard how it is in an independent front suspension. But the tricky part is, if you can bring the camera this side, this coilover part is pretty much same as it is in most vehicles. What you need to understand is this bit. So this bit is very uncommon. Can you just bring the camera in a little? So this bit is very uncommon because normally a coilover will extend straight and connect to your lower control arm. But in this case, the coilover is going straight till here and then it goes around to accommodate for your front axle. So when it goes around and then attaches itself on the side of your front lower control arm. So this, I have not seen such a suspension set in any vehicle so far, because normally all the coilovers we worked with, they work in a straight line, and that is what normal physics also says. So I think this was what took so long to develop a suspension for the Thar as well. This is a new, fresh, custom-built part by Ironman, and of course we've retained the stock spring. So this, I feel, is this bit right here is the weakest link in the Thar, but the new setup is supposed to accommodate for a lot of weak links. So I think we'll be able to gauge and comment further once we are done with the install and we're able to drive it around. But this is a very funny looking bit that I've never seen in any other vehicle, and Mahindra actually surprised us with what they've given in the Thar. But same on the other side, they've got a J. This is like a J hook or a J link, not a J hook. It looks like a hockey stick. So same on both sides, and rest we'll cover once we start driving it and we'll see how it does. Front should come up by around 35 to 40 mm. We'll do the measurements once the tires are installed and it's back on the floor again. Thank you. So finally the Thar is now on level floor, and you can see the front has come up. I'll quickly do a measurement for you as well. When we had started this side, it was at a 30.5 inches, and now we are sitting at 31 exact. So we've got a lift of exact 1.5 inches, which is like 40 mm. So this won't give you what a lot of people might think. It'll give you a monster truck feel. It won't. This is only going to bring up the front, make your steering lighter, and accommodate a bigger size of tires in a very healthy manner. So, and the main thing is this levels out the front. The rear is still where it was. The front has come up, and now your vehicle does not look drooped in the front. So that is the only difference this is going to make. If you want to call it a lift kit, you can, but only the front goes up by 40 mm. This is not a real-time lift kit where your front and rear both go up by 2 inches, but then the droop again stays unless that is leveling it out as well. So what for a Thar you actually need is 3 in the front, 2 in the back to lift. because the front actually sits lower than the rear. But this is the final stance. It is running a set of 285/60 R18 BFGs, and it's taking them very well on the stock wheels. Eventually, we might switch out the wheels for a wider set as well. But this is the final look for you, and I am pretty happy. Let's see how this sits down, how it settles down, and in another 100, 1500, 2000 kilometers, we'll do an on the road drive impressions video as well. Thank you.